All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us on for our special webinar, unlocking incentives for your customers. We have a couple special guests here from our friends over at Festival Hydro. We have Megan Winchester, Ed Miles Turning, Tur oh,
Not
Tur
not bad,
Bernie.
not bad.
Yeah.
Turney. Okay, sorry about that. Anyways, here's our agenda for today. We're doing quick introductions, a bit of overview on the Save on Energy program, some retrofit program examples. We're going to talk about the support that you're going to receive from Enova and Festival Hydro and a Q&A at the end. But, if you have questions, don't feel like you have to wait till the end. Feel free to ask questions at any point during the webinar, either through the chat or raise your hand or whatever you feel is proper. Anyways, all right. Well, let's go to the next slide. So here's a picture of our service territories. We have Festival Hydro, who takes care of Festival of Stratford, St. Mary's, Dashwood, Zurich, Hensel, Seaforth, and Brussels. And then you have Nova Power, which is basically everything in the green there. Woolwich, Wellesley, Wilmot, Kitchener-Waterloo.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Thanks, Chris. I'll take it over from here. We're going to basically touch on the Save on Energy programs here. I think many of you are aware that this is a provincial program that is out there in the atmosphere to take advantage of. So, uh, energy efficiency programs have come a long way since the first wave of province-wide programs that were rolled out by the Ontario Power Authority back in 2008. So, come a long way since then. Um, the Save on Energy suite of programs launched in 2011, and it's continuing today under a 12-year funding agreement running from 2025 to 2037, and comes with a $10.9 billion investment from the provincial government. The reason they're doing this is the most cost-effective solution for building grid capacity. 3 cents per kilowatt hour versus 8 to 24 cents a kilowatt hour if you're talking about brand new nuclear. So it's the best bang for your buck in terms of building that grid capacity, paying people to use less of it. And it's open for every sector, residential, small business, municipal, universities, schools, hospitals, commercial, industrial, institutional, First Nations, as long as the facility is connected to the ISO controlled grid or LDC. So basically, if you have a electric utility account, you're eligible to go through these programs. Key thing to remember here is that it's an incentive program, not a rebate program. So they want you to apply before you buy. Submit an application through through the application portal before you issue a PO to acquire any measures. So under the Save on Energy, there's lots of programs. We're only going to focus on the retrofit program today, but you're more than welcome to visit the Save on Energy website to see what else is involved here. There's a list of them there. These are typically done by a delivery agent, so then make sure that you're going to the right person for that. Particularly instant discounts program used to be lighting inside the retrofit program. That's now its own program, and it's applied point of sale. So again, going to the website, you'll be able to see a list of distributors that are offering this program, and we urge customers to go that route. So for the retrofit program, we call this the workhorse. I can't even say that right. And the reason being is it's 90% of the projects that are going through. It definitely is well worked and well utilized. The program is a two-stage application process. So there's a pre-project submission and a post-project submission. Pre-project is you submit your application, it goes through a technical review, you decide on, okay, this is what the incentive is going to be, you do all the work. At the end, you submit your invoices. We'll get into the details here in a bit, but and then it goes through the technical review process again, and then it's paid out. This is all done through the online portal called the retrofit portal. So you'll have to have your customers create a user account, which then the application is submitted through. And part of the retrofit program are two streams. One's called prescriptive, one's called custom. You're welcome take whichever one's the best one for you, and we'll get into some examples of how these two streams compare. In any case, the incentives are capped up to 50% of eligible project costs. And so these project costs are defined, and we'll get into that in a second. There's social housing and regional adders that are also available for certain facilities. For instance, the NOB postal code, Elmira, Breslau, and surrounding areas qualify for this regional ladder, which is basically double the incentive amount. So there's um, extra motivation for those customers to go through this. And like I said, once the project is complete, that's when the incentive is paid. In order to be eligible through this program, besides being connected to the grid, need to be a non-residential or commercial account or a farm operation. So program requirements. When you're submitting an application, they want to see the proof of project costs. They're not going to give you some incentive for something you're not paying for. So the quote needs to have kind of the eligible costs all itemized. So if we're submitting a quote and saying we're going to install this equipment and the all-in price is X, you're going to be asked, okay, well, what is materials, what's labor, what's disposal, et cetera, in order to be able to determine which costs are eligible on that quote. The costs can be rolled up though. So for instance, if you have several pieces of equipment on the quote, you don't have to necessarily put a line item for each individual one of those pieces of equipment. You can roll it up and just say equipment X, installation Y, and so on. Some costs are eligible through prescriptive, some are eligible through custom. You see the list there. May come in a factor depending on the total project cost. As I mentioned before, up to 50% is included. So this might sway your decision to go prescriptive or custom, depending on the project cost cap. Along with the application are equipment spec sheets. And we encourage that whatever you're submitting on the spec sheets, the make model is also listed on the quote, and the two are the same to avoid any confusion during the technical review process. For custom application, what's required is some worksheets. So the ISO does have some pre-published engineer worksheets. We'll actually talk about an example of this later on. But you're more than welcome to do your own calculations. There's also a custom worksheet that's required with every custom application that just basically summarizes what the project's about. If you would like to know more about what's included in a Save on Energy retrofit application, there's lots of resources on the website. There's some links here, which you can be able to click on once I provide the slide deck after the case. But they basically lay it right out here, pretty good for you to be able to follow this. More requirements here. There are some minimum incentive thresholds. So the calculated incentive, whatever it's determined to be, has to meet these thresholds just for the application to be processed. So for a prescriptive application, they want a minimum incentive of $500 to be applied for. There are some incentives for unplanned replacements, which I'll touch on a little bit later too. But then they can't be any more than $10,000. For custom track, it's $1,500, as well as some demand and energy saving thresholds. And in terms of timelines, again, we mentioned before, apply before you buy. You need to submit the application prior to issuing a purchase order. And the incentive needs to be paid within 2 years of the application being pre-approved. And this is to prevent people from just putting dummy applications in there and just sitting on them indefinitely until the program runs out or whatever. Not eligible measures are pilot or demonstration projects, or just basically unproven technology, and also fuel switching. So, for instance, a heat pump replacing a gas furnace RTU would not necessarily be eligible. So, first stream, prescriptive stream. Think coupon. So this is where you're going to the store. You may have seen this back in the day. Especially down in lighting aisles, you have those coupons right beside the lighting product. You take the product, you take the coupon, you bring it up to the till, and it's applied right there. So prescriptive stream is kind of like a coupon. you don't have to replace any existing equipment going through the prescriptive stream. That's not a requirement anymore. Same goes with custom track, but it's a different story. As for incentives, again, these are per unit, think coupon, and they vary depending on what measure you're putting in. As mentioned before, unplanned replacements of recently failed AC units or VFDs are allowed to go through the prescriptive track, meaning you don't have to apply before you buy there. If one of these fail and you're like, hey, I wonder if there's incentive for it, then you can submit an application up to 45 days after the completion of that originally failed project. In terms of eligibility, there are some minimum efficiency requirements, and the worksheets will show this. We'll look at that just in a little bit. And like I said, they're listed on the worksheets that are available online. Right. On to some examples here. So there's lots of measures that can go through the prescriptive stream now, along with some newer ones, such as an industrial energy management information system, computer room air conditioners. Solar PV is now eligible through the prescriptive stream, as well as basically anything that consumes electricity, and energy savings can be achieved through that. Through the custom stream, we refer to this as calculated. So what you're doing here is you're determining what the energy base case is, what the existing equipment is consuming now, and then you're going to make some estimates based on what you're putting in. So there hopefully some energy savings that are coming a part of this project. Again, it doesn't have to replace any previous equipment. What would happen there is, say, if you're an expansion to your facility and you need a new air compressor. So you can go with a fixed speed air compressor, or you can go with a variable speed air compressor. So what you would do then is the application would be based on what's the difference between that fixed speed and the variable speed. Incentives through custom stream have never been greater. They're $1,800 a kilowatt or 20 cents a kilowatt hour. This is far cry from what they were back in 2019. I think they were 810 cents a kilowatt hour. So they've come a long way, and they've hopefully been reflecting the market and the tariffs and whatnot that are coming into play here. Again, what's not going through prescriptive stream can go through custom stream. This really applies to anything that's consuming electricity. If you can do some calculations to say this piece of equipment is going to save X amount of energy from the one that you're replacing, then we can put an application through the custom stream for that. The caveat being that the project needs to deliver savings for at least a minimum of 48 months after the project has completed. Mind you, I don't really know of anybody that's going to be putting in a new piece of equipment only to rip it out less than 48 months, but I guess it could happen. We're making some really good time here. So is there any questions so far on anything? Again, feel free to unmute yourself and chime in here, or if there's anything in the chat there, Chris, do we see anything there?
Nothing yet, but just wanted you to touch on the incentive rates and the regional adders. So on the previous slide, you said it was what, 1,800 per kilowatt and 20 cents per kilowatt hour. So correct me if I'm wrong, the regional adder would put it up to what, $3,600 per kilowatt or 40 cents per kilowatt hour, correct?
That's correct, yeah. So regional adder being those constrained areas that the provincial grid has determined as constrained. So the NOB postal code in this area, Elmira and whatnot, is deemed that way.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. I'll just clarify actually on the peak kilowatt too. The peak kilowatt is determined on weekdays occurring between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m., June 1st to September 30th. So they want to see that, I guess that's when the constraint on the grid is. So they want to see what kind of demand is savings are happening during those windows of time.
I don't see anything in the chat, so let's keep going.
All right. Hopefully that means everything is going well. So, all right, let's talk about this program, retrofit program example number one. So in this case, there were two cooling towers. One had three 50 horsepower fans, and one had two 50 horsepower fans. There was a VFD in each one of these cooling towers. So the project was to add VFDs to the last three, and it seems like a great idea. As both cooling towers serve one condensed water system, BAS would sequence the fans based on the heat load, and it would run 24 hours, 7 days a week. So real quick and easy, we'd go through the prescriptive stream. We'd say, okay, we're putting in three VFDs, 350 horsepower VFDs. Each VFD is worth $9,900 worth of incentive. So then the total incentive, calculated incentive amount would be 29,700. In this case, the project was far more than that, so there was no incentive cap that came into play here. Through prescriptive stream, there are a bunch of assumptions that are associated with these incentive levels. So in this case, they're assuming that the VFD is operating 4,000 hours per year and offering 15.2 kilowatts of demand savings or 136,000 kilowatt hour savings per year. So yeah, $9,900, not too bad. What does the custom stream say? Well, what happened in this case is because the two cooling towers serve the same heat load, there were some interactive effects that were happening. So not necessarily were the VFDs full throttle if the other ones were able to do part load too. So based on the information we had and some fan curves, we were able to actually determine what the base case energy was, what the estimated real energy use would be, to find that the demand savings were actually quite greater than what the prescriptive assumptions were, and multiply it by that $1,800 a kilowatt, resulted in a $77,000 incentive. So quite a bit more than what the prescriptive incentive was offering. Okay, on to example number 2. This is an air compressor. It's 125 horsepower fixed speed air compressor with integrated dryer, air-cooled, oil-injected load control. It's been operating for 20 years. I think it's done its duties and provided what they could, but it's coming time to replace it because it's in disrepair. It was also overcycled, and we can see that, or oversized and short cycling, based on the graph here. This graph is actually taken using our Candura data loggers. We'll connect the 3-phase power energy analyzer on this equipment and be able to get this pattern to see exactly what's happening with it. So great case to install a variable speed option. So then we look through the prescriptive stream. We can see that 125 horsepower VFD air compressor is worth 24,000, almost 25,000 bucks for an incentive. Not too bad. Again, it's assuming that this is operating 5,700 hours a year with 26 kilowatt demand savings and just shy of 150,000 kilowatt hours of energy savings. Now, the Save on Energy program does have some engineered worksheets, they're called. This is kind of legacy ones that they've carried on. They have them published for people to use. So the engineered worksheet will then ask you to punch in a bunch of values here. So actually, we'll bring this up so you can see exactly what this looks like. So everyone should see that worksheet now. There are some old tabs. This used to be a paper-based product where people have to actually manually fill this in, but now we've gone digital. These few first sections aren't necessarily required. But what is required is the system schedule. So you can see in this situation, they're running from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Thursday with some reduced hours on Friday and sometimes on Saturday. So this kind of puts out, we also put in some which days they're taking statutory holidays on to determine kind of the annual hours per year. This is what I showed on that previous screen here, where we put in some parameters based on their existing systems. This is the fixed speed compressor. Sometimes you can't find any KGI information on fixed speed compressors, so you'll go to hopefully go to a vendor like yourself and be like, hey, do you have any information on this compressor that we can use to plug into this worksheet? If not, what I've done actually in this case is, because we did some data logging, I was able to find that this was actually running at 71 kilowatts at zero flow. So that's pretty expensive air compressor to run when you're not getting any air out of it. So I plug these values into the base case or the fixed speed compressor section, and this information will come right off the KGI data sheets, and it's pretty self-explanatory in that regard. There will be some, say, assumptions, or in this case, since we did some data logging, we were able to determine that there was be able to determine this operating profile, which then will kind of tabulate all these numbers together to determine what the energy savings would be associated with this project. Again, makes you kind of put in a short explanation out here. Again, I just type in some letters just to make it work for the next page. Not necessarily required. And then here's a fancy output sheet that they provide. So as we can see, the summer peak demands. This is again June, July, August, September between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. Monday to Friday, based off our system schedule information we had put there before. It determines that there's 13.6 kilowatts of energy savings, sorry, demand savings, just shy of 140,000 kilowatt hour savings for the year. And we can see here that it is taking the greater of those two values. So in this case, having a custom application generates roughly $4,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 more than the prescriptive option. And I think because this facility shuts down at 5 o'clock each night, we're missing a couple hours of, of of operating time that falls within that peak demand window. So then if this was a compressor that was running, say, more often, maybe 2 shifts a day, 24 hours a day, then this output would be definitely greater based on that number. Any questions so far? We still have people on the call, right, Chris?
We
Okay.
do. I don't see anything in the chat, but
Okay, that's okay. No problem. There's lots to take in here. I'm trying to go slow. Mike, please tell me
there,
if I'm going a bit too fast.
and like I said, there's a lot of information here, a lot of data.
Yeah, right on. Okay. Oh yeah, let's go to the next example. This one's regarding the computer room air conditioning. And I did this one because there's a brand new prescriptive measure that just came out about this. So I figured it'd be a good one to touch on. So in this regard, they're adding 70 kilowatt of heat load to this data center. Existing cooling system was inadequate, so they're adding some new equipment in there. So they had the option of, again, providing or just installing the basic unit, or they decided to go with this one that had this premium condenser and free cooling, this pumped refrigeration system with it. So then through the prescriptive stream, we can see that it gets a $10,000 incentive. You got one unit operating between this range of sensible cooling, as long as it meets this minimum SCOP efficiency number, which it did. Then the value is just one of those, and $10,000 is your incentive. The prescriptive stream does assume this be operating all year round, 8760 hours per year, and providing 4 kilowatts of demand savings and 36,000 kilowatt hours per year. We look at the custom stream now, and we're using the manufacturer's simulation software. So this was provided by is it Veritiv that did this. They basically went through and said, here's your different options. Here's what happens at each one of these buckets. They're able to take this information, put it into a spreadsheet, compare it to daily wet bulb temperatures, be able to determine what the impact was between that 3 p.m., 9 p.m. window on weekdays. And it turned out to be a $9,800 incentive based on the kilowatt hour energy savings. So I think the ISO must have got that pretty right when they came up with this prescriptive stream, because you're looking at basically the same ballpark. Okay. That concludes that section. There's no other questions.
No, and like I said, feel free, everyone, to unmute yourself and ask questions. Don't necessarily have to type it in the chat, but let's try to keep this as an open conversation.
I think they're just waiting to get to this part here, Chris. This is where we really shine here, right?
Yeah.
Right. So support from Enova and Festival. So we're here as your co-pilot, right? So we want, if there's an energy assessment, the customer calls you and say, hey, we want to look at this project, and you're interested. Hey, I wonder if there's incentives for that, or hey, I wonder if there's opportunity for additional projects that, besides just the one. So consider us your co-pilot, right? We can come along, kind of as a agnostic kind of party, and just be able to use our eyes and ears and expertise and knowledge to be able to help develop the project as well as maybe identify some other opportunities that might exist at the facility. Um, Now, again, you're thinking all this incentive application work seems like a lot of headache, a lot of work for what it's worth. This is where we come in. So this is, our extensive experience dealing with these applications, and knowledge and whatnot, how to put them through. Uh, Leave that to us, right? As long as we have, say, a quote from you, some spec sheets from you, and some basic details, then we can kind of plug in all that information through the retrofit portal and do the heavy lifting for you in that regard. Um, as well as using our eyes and ears and whatnot to develop the project. We also provide customer reinsurance. We're the local trusted utility, so hopefully that would provide a bit of clout and a little bit of assurance to the customer that you're not making these things up, that these programs, these incentives are real, and navigating and getting them is not too onerous on them. We also provide connections to other funding, right? Bridge has a lot of incentives on the table there for similar type of equipment. So you're more than welcome to be able to double dip between those two incentives to make the ROI even that much better. In addition to Enbridge, there's Enercan, and then Water Conservation Authorities. I know the region of Waterloo has a program to conserve water, which I think a lot of people don't really know about. And from what I've heard, actually, is water is becoming more expensive than gas and electricity. So if you can, pair these water incentives along with the gas and electricity, then you're really making a good case for a project there.
Oh, we have a question here. A few slides ago, it was mentioned that there are incentives available for controls.
For controls, yep.
Yeah, I'm
Tell me
just
when to
trying to.
stop. Are you referring to probably this one?
Are there prescriptive forms available for controls? There's like a BAS
Uh,
system?
uh,
Yeah,
yeah, let's here.
that's
I'll show the website right here. This is the list of all the worksheets that are available. We
Sorry, not
have
sure if
the
you can hear me. Can you
oh,
hear me?
now we can hear you.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so feel free to Jacqueline to ask your questions.
Yeah, so I was just thinking about BAS, building automation systems.
Mhm.
Is there prescriptive worksheets available for that now?
That's eligible through the custom stream only. There isn't
That's what I
anyone
thought.
to,
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah,
Perfect. Thank you.
no problem. Yeah, so here, the only controls one here would be the advanced RTU controls, which I think are like they're on each individual unit. They're not necessarily tied together. Uh, and then also these network lighting controls. There's demand control ventilation, which is on here. I find that's a pretty good one to promote, especially for parking garages. I've been seeing a few of those come through and that have relatively low payback based on that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, while we're here, we can kind of go through the worksheets. So here, again, these are custom stream. These are the engineered worksheets. I had mentioned that they've continued to publish here. Again, you can click on whatever one of these you want. It'll ask you some operating information, nameplate details to put in here, and then it will just spit out a number for you. Prescriptive stream ones are HVAC, like network lighting controls. Chillers are in here, industrial systems, PTACs for in-suite measures. Speaking of in-suite measures, refrigerators are one. The list goes on. One other thing I should mention here is that they are open to suggestions. So if if you have something that you'd like to add to this prescriptive measures list, there is a link here. I don't see it right here, but there is a suggestion box where you can make your pitch to say, can we add this to the prescriptive list? Okay. All right. So like I said, yeah, lots of different things here to choose from. Uh, so what we do here. Uh, so yeah, I guess the thing to leave you with here is don't be a stranger. We're more than happy to help you flush out an idea, or if you have even if it's not necessarily pertaining to a customer, or you say, hey, we have this idea, we want to see how's a good way to sell it, or if there's incentives that will help sell it, then we're happy to review that and be able to provide our input and our advice on that one. I know I had a customer that was saying, "Hey, I'm dealing with a customer. We want to shift 1 megawatt of load off peak times and do it overnight. They're thinking about thermal energy storage. So, based on our understanding of the utility market, I was basically able to determine how much cost savings they would achieve by shifting this megawatt of load overnight versus during the day. How much electricity they would save, how much global adjustment they would save, including demand times, and provide that information. And they were tickled pink with it. They were able to bring that to the customer, and now that project is being further explored based on that preliminary analysis.
And
Uh, yeah.
are you still on the website, the Save on Energy website? Can you show us where the constrained areas are? Or at least give us a list of the postal codes?
Yeah. That's a good question there, Chris. Let me just see here. Those.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I thought you had it, Andy.
No, no.
You provide information for global adjustment days each year. Yes, we do. When it's time to opt for your customer to opt in as a Class A or Class B customer, uh, yeah, we provide information what the customer used during those peak times. So that was for Steve over at Live Electric. Targeted areas.
Almost there. Almost there. Here we go. Full list of postal codes. Here we go. Okay, so as you can see, the NOB N3B would be in the Elmira area. I don't see any that pertain to festival. Megan, maybe if any of these are uh,
Yeah, so they just removed for South Huron and Perth, they just removed our St. Mary's postal code a little bit ago, so there are none in our territory as well.
okay. That's what I thought. Anyways, here's the list. As you can see, there's several areas around here. So again, these are regional adders, or basically they double the incentive amount. That's both prescriptive and custom stream, no matter which one. So yeah, we're thinking you're saying $3,600 per kilowatt. It's a pretty relatively low project or low amount in order to get a decent amount of incentive money back in return. So uh, again, we can provide all this information when we send out a follow-up email. We'll have this webinar is being recorded. You can watch it later if need be, and you'll have that slide deck with those links in there as well. Okay. That concludes our formal presentation for today. If there's any, again, questions or comments that you guys may have, we're open to that. Okay.
I don't see any more questions coming in through the chat.
I just have a comment, if I may.
Sure.
So there's a lot of talk, throughout the country about moving to net zero energy. And it's always been a stumbling block for these kinds of programs for what we try to do, that we ignore the equivalent kilowatt hours associated with burning gas or fossil fuels in general. So if I have some feedback that the ISO or the LDCs would listen to, it would be really advantageous both for our planet and for everyone if we started to recognize the equivalent kilowatt hours associated with burning fossil fuels and incentivize moving to a heat pump, whether it's air source or geothermal, and the equivalent kilowatt hours in overall reduction in consumption. And with geothermal as an example, a peak that's about a third of what conventional rooftop or any kind of air conditioners would be. So I don't know what the answer is to that equation, but I encourage you guys to not give up on trying to recognize the equivalent kilowatt hours and talk about energy as a common denominator instead of isolating and not allowing fuel switching.
It's Jeff Quint here. Appreciate the comments, and it's something we're, as local distribution companies, collectively are trying to grasp with the ISO and the Ministry of Energy. It's something bigger than us. It's bigger than the ISO, and it's not that we don't, there isn't fuel switching support. It's just the additional, for providing incentive, and this is what we're up against right now, for providing incentive, say for cooling savings or increasing the electrical use on heating. We're not able to quantify those savings in that equivalent kilowatt hours. There's also both, double incentivizing if natural gas programs do provide incentives on those matters. So we hear you, and we're trying to help the ISO and the ministry navigate that.
Well, I have a specific example where a church is looking to get off multiple rooftops to look at a more environmentally friendly form of heating and, of course, cooling. Would this program accommodate at least the cooling portion of those rooftops and provide some sort of incentive for that application?
I'd suggest we take it offline with Andrew, and he can explore it a bit further and explain some of the things he's come across with heat pumps on those kind of those style projects.
Would that be the dual fuels that you're talking about? The dual fuel heat pumps that are new on the market?
Yeah, the dual, I guess you're going to say dual fuel. The primary source of heating and cooling is coming from the heat pump, and then your secondary source coming from electricity or natural gas. Right now, the program does not provide incentives unless for heat pumps. Andrew, you can correct me if wrong, unless there's you're going from all electric over. They don't allow that basically fuel switching more or less. There are some Enbridge incentives, and Andrew could probably send a link out to those and make connections on that side because there are Enbridge heat pump incentives out there.
Yeah, but that's at the residential level. I'm not available, or I'm not aware of any at the institutional or commercial level.
There are commercial level dual fuel with Enbridge. I was the one that got them on that track, so I believe they are available now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like there'd be no natural gas present or propane.
Yeah,
at the site.
I don't believe there's any that are going to allow any that aren't, if there's not a natural gas, secondary heating source, I'm not sure they qualify. So
Even though they're clearly reducing the peak load and kilowatt consumption in cooling.
it's like I said, I'd suggest it's something we take offline, not for the call. We can explain where we've arrived at and how we've come up with and worked with the ISO. Not so much in the Enbridge, but again, the Enbridge one, I think Andrew has on the screen, and it still has to have natural gas as a backup heating source. So if you're going to fully electric rooftop units with and displacing natural gas, that's a challenge to get through the incentive programs. We hear that that's where everybody wants to go. We understand it. we support it. We're trying to help navigate it. Again, it's bigger than the utilities, it's bigger than the ISO. It's more of a governmental issue.
Okay, so Andrew, reach out anytime. Jeff's got my cell phone.
Yeah, right on. Will do. Okay. All right. That wraps up today's. Oh, no, there's one more to go here. Thank you. Okay, right on. Thanks for the feedback. Appreciate you guys showing up today. I think this is our first channel partner interaction we've had in quite some time. So I know that we outreach to I think about 900 different companies all over Ontario to see if we get people coming today, making these connections again. The key thing is, and I think I showed this image kind of on a previous slide here. This guy holding a bag of money and holding a trophy, right? So we want to be able to provide a win-win solution to our customers and to you that that you make yourself look good and make the customer look good, and that we're all in it with the same goals here. So without you out there interacting and involving us along the way, and vice versa, we can encourage this energy efficiency to continue and basically build this capacity on the grid that they're targeting right now a 75% increase by 2030. So we need all hands on deck here to be able to build that capacity on the grid, so that the lights can stay on and we can continue to use AI for all these purposes that are coming down the road.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all for joining us.
And feel free once we send out the post event here with this webinar and or the slide deck and whatnot. Feel free to contact us with anything that you need afterwards.
All right. And it looks like we're giving everybody about 15 minutes back. So yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.